Well, hello there, and welcome back to another Blender 3D tutorial. This time around, I'm going to be showing you guys my workflow when it comes to making heads. If you're wondering about the references in the background, you'll be able to get them on my Discord server. There's a link below the video. These are my settings that I use for the crease brush, so make sure that if you want to have the same result, that you copy them over. And we're going to be starting off with a UV sphere that I subdivided. Now, I didn't apply the subdivision yet. We're going to apply it later, after we get kind of like a basic shape of the skull. All the other brushes that I'm using just have default settings, except the crease brush. Later on, in a couple of minutes, I will enable screencast keys add-on, which will showcase all the hotkeys I'm pressing. Unfortunately, I kind of forgot to enable it at the beginning of the video, but don't worry, you're not really missing out on anything really. You'll be able to see all the hotkeys I'm pressing in a bit. If you're wondering about the text in the bottom left corner, you can just ignore that. That text is actually meant for my streams when I'm streaming on Twitch, which I pretty much do almost every day. For anybody who's interested, link below the video. You'll be able to, ask questions there if you're interested, and hang around and learn 3D. So there, as you can see, I applied the subdivision modifier. And now we're going to be digging out the eye sockets, and you will notice that I already placed two spheres. It was actually one sphere with a mirror modifier and a little bit of subdivision. So just grab two spheres, place them in there, and you'll be good to go. A lot of people ask me, denRubi, how do you know the size of the eyes, like what they need to be, like how do we judge the eyeball size? And usually I just kind of randomly just eyeball it, I guess, pun intended. There is no like specific rule that I follow when it comes to like sizes, when it comes to the eyes and stuff like that. So I just kind of like randomly choose like a size, and then if it works, great, and if it doesn't work, then I just adjust it. Make it bigger, make it smaller, depending on the thing that I want to make. So there we go, I just enabled the screencast keys add-on. So you'll be able to see the hotkeys I'm pressing in the bottom left corner. You just saw me there remeshing the head. And basically remeshing allows you to go higher or lower poly, depending on the resolution that you set it. And usually the first time I remesh the head, I'm aiming for 50k vertices. You'll be able to see the amount of vertices that I have in the bottom right corner where it says vertices, and you will see that I have around 52,000 vertices. It doesn't have to be exactly 50k, but that's just kind of like the number that works for me. Right now we're kind of in the blockout stage, I guess, where we're just kind of getting things approximately right. It doesn't need to be perfect, right? Just use the references, kind of position things where they need to be, and then later on we'll make them look nice. And once again, I will repeat that if you want to get these references that I'm using in the background, these images, they will be, or I guess they already are, on my Discord server. So you can just grab them, download them, and put them in Blender and use them. So at this point, we're gonna duplicate the eyes, as you can see, and we're gonna rotate them along the 3D cursor. And this is going to be these are going to be the eyelids. So as you can see, I just cut the sphere in half. I moved the upper half, I rotated the halves, added a little bit of shrink wrap and solidify. As you can see, here, these are going to be our eyelids, as I said. There, as you just saw, I enabled auto masking. Basically, if you press Alt-A, you will be able to create auto masks, which will automatically mask certain things. In this case, it's topology. So as you can see here, I'm moving, whenever I'm moving things around, it's only affecting one of the, eyelids, either the upper one or the lower one, depending on where your cursor is, right? That's very useful, so you don't have to manually mask things around and it's too much of a hassle. You just kind of enable auto mask and it does it for you. As you just saw me do there, in the top right corner, in the drop-down menu next to the XYZ, if you click on the drop-down menu at the very bottom, you will see Symmetrize, which basically symmetrizes your mesh and, allows you to clean it up a little bit, I guess. It's not really necessary to do, but, I do it from time to time. At this point, she's looking very derpy, but you gotta trust the process. I'm using the pinch brush right there for the lips. I'm going to be using the pinch brush quite a lot actually during this sculpt. We're going to be pinching a lot of things, because the pinch brush gives you that really nice clean look at the end. So here I got tired of the lips because they were looking so bad. So I was like, you know what, let me just take a small break, fix up the eyes a little bit. And that's my advice, is like whenever you're like having an issue with a certain part of the body or face, just take a small break, maybe work on something else, maybe go on a walk, step away from the computer, come back maybe like 20 minutes later, right? And you will have a better perspective. Obviously, my break was very short. Now we're back to the lips. As you can see here, I'm very literally spamming Alt-Z to see through X-ray on the reference. I'm using that reference every single second. I know there's like some people that think references are, you know, using references is not good, but in my opinion, references are pretty much key to everything. And you should definitely not be afraid to use as many references as possible. I understand some people want to be creative and they want to like create things on their own without, external help, and that's fine, But if you're a beginner and you're, maybe like learning anatomy for characters and stuff like that, using references is very helpful. Oh, by the way, I just changed the focal length there for the viewport to be 80, and this is going to basically make your viewport less like a fish lens, fisheye lens, thing, and more like it's going to be more flat, which is going to allow you to more easily, adjust the features of the face. I don't always enable that. Sometimes just, keep it at 50, which is the default. But sometimes I do change it to 80, which, makes it a little bit easier to see things. So just, like a small heads up, we're still, believe it or not, we're still at that 50K that we were, near the beginning. And, it's basically very important to like get these like features of the face, dialed in. And to keep it kind of low poly, because like I see so many people just going super high poly immediately and then having, and they're struggling to like getting like the basic shapes down, right? But yeah, it's very important to kind of keep it low poly, and then you can, go higher poly later on. So here I'm adding the neck, and I'm not really gonna spend too much time on it. Just kind of, add a little bit of detail to it, and then move on. And just, like a small heads up. I probably should have said this at the beginning of the video, but this is going to be purely head tutorial, well, I guess head and neck, so it's not gonna be like, like a bust tutorial. It's just gonna be purely focused on the head. That's the goal of the video, right? And just so you know, so you don't get surprised. It's like, where's the rest of the thing? Well, it's just the head, That was the goal of the video in the first place. I will be making more videos, of course, in the future, having to do with, bodies, maybe shaders, maybe, I don't know, rigging and stuff like that. But for now, I like to keep it, simple, and, this video is going to only focus on the head. I think at this point, I'm thinking about combining the eyelids and the whatchamacallit, the rest of the head, because right now the eyelids and, the rest of the head are, you know, just two different meshes, right? But, you know, we want to combine them, right? And the way I do that is going to be with a remesh modifier. You'll be able to see that in a second or two. But before combining them, as you can see here, I just smoothed out the lips and made them a little bit more open. And the reason why I did that is because I didn't want them to merge after the remeshing process. So that's very important. Make sure that you kind of smooth them out a little bit, and they should be Gucci. So as you just saw, I clicked on the eyelids, I applied all the modifiers, I combined it with the head. After combining it with the head, I added the remesh modifier. And now as you can see, we are high poly boys. We're at 1 million vertices. And that's on purpose, because now at this point, you know, I want to add all the crispy details and stuff. You know, make it nice and smooth. So we basically jumped from 50k to, you know, 1 million. Now, obviously a lot of people recommend that you kind of gradually go up when it comes to detail. You know, you gradually increase the resolution. And that's fine. I actually used to do that. But nowadays I just kind of do like a big jump. Like I basically get all the, you know, proportions and like all the basic shapes first at low poly, and then I just jump into high poly immediately, you know. So at this point, I'm gonna be using and abusing the crease brush and the pinch brush to make it nice and smooth and sharp. Once again, do a quick symmetrize to, you know, just make sure that both sides are, you know, the same. A lot of people ask me, wait a minute, denRubi, why do we symmetrize stuff when we already have, you know, symmetry enabled? Well, the thing is, when you're like remeshing things, you know, they're not going to be perfectly symmetrical. Like the remesh, you know, operation, I guess, doesn't, you know, it's not like, it's not really focused on making things symmetrical. That's not its goal. So sometimes it's just not really going to make things symmetrical. So that's why you kind of, you know, if you want it to be symmetrical, you just use that feature in the top right corner to just symmetrize the, you know, the mesh. So here I just created like a face set using the mask that we just did. Face sets are basically, you can kind of think of them as like bookmarks for masks, you know? So let's say you want to like make a mask and then you want to reuse that very same mask later on in the sculpt. You just, you know, create a face set, and now it's like a nice bookmark that you can use to, you know, create the same mask later on. Obviously, that's not the only thing it does. There are many other very useful things that, you know, face sets do, but, you know, you can kind of think of it that as kind of like a basic bookmark. Later on, I will be actually, you can also hide face sets, and you'll be able to see that later on, where I hide the you know, lower jaw to, like, you know, change things. Actually, I think it's gonna happen now. Let's see. Yeah, there you go. So I pressed Shift X there, You'll see it in the bottom left corner on the hotkeys. And basically that just hides the bottom, you know, jaw. Very useful for like, you know, when you're like sculpting in like tight spaces. You just hide, you know, part of the mesh and, you know, you're able to see it much easier. Here I made my crease brush very small and I added this kind of like small detail above the lips. I'm kind of going for that, you know, semi-stylistic, semi-realistic, you know, look, right? So there's certain things that, you know, kind of look, you know, realistic, but you know, a lot of them are stylized, to be honest. And that's kind of like, you know, my style, I guess. So up until point, I pretty much just, you know, ignored the eyes. But this is the point where we actually start fixing them. And you gotta be careful with the eyes. You don't want to smooth out stuff because then you're gonna lose all these like crispy lines that we just created. The sharp lines. So as you can see here, I'm pretty much like not smoothing out anything. Like if I make a mistake, instead of like smoothing it out, I just, you know, I use other tools like, you know, the grab brush or the crease brush to just kind of like fix it, you know. And I'm pretty much masking a bunch of stuff because I don't want to accidentally like, you know, move things around with the grab brush. So, you know, mask everything. Here I was trying to follow the reference to kind of move that part of the eye a little bit inwards. It wasn't really working out. So I think at the end I just kind of like made my own thing. I kind of left it like that. Here, once again, I just hide the bottom jaw to kind of like fix up this part here at the top. Add a little bit of a kind of like, I guess, dimple. It's not really a dimple, but you know, like a small hole at the end of the mouth. Give it a little bit more like a cutesy look, I guess. So the next part in my workflow is the quarter mesher add-on. And usually I remesh it around 30k vertices. Doesn't have to be, you know, exactly that number, but you know, that's kind of like the number I choose. And then after I do that, I subdivide the new mesh twice. And then I shrink wrap it to the old mesh. And this is going to basically transfer all the details from the old mesh into the new one. Now this part of the process is not really necessary, to be honest. If you don't have a quad, you know, remesher add-on, which it is a paid add-on, by the way. If you don't have it, it's not really necessary for you to do it. The reason why I use it is because it cleans up the mesh very nicely. Like you will see me like smoothing things out, and the mesh will look nice and clean afterwards. But it's still not really necessary, to be honest, because you can just like, you know, retopologize it manually, and you will be able to get like a nice clean mesh that way. But I just like using it because, you know, it's nice and easy. It gets the job done. As you can see here, I'm gonna smooth out the eyes a little bit, not too much obviously, you don't want to lose all that, you know, crispy edges and stuff. People often ask me, denRubi, how do you make your eyes so crispy and sharp? Well, I use the pinch brush, sorry, and I also enable the curve stroke. And by doing that, you are able to basically press Control, right-click, and create these curves. And I'm just moving them around. And you can press Enter on your keyboard, and this will basically pinch it along the curve. As you can see here, it allows you to create these like nice pinches in a very like precise manner. Because if you were to try to do this manually, where you grab the pinch brush and you try to manually, pinch it, yeah, you can do that, but this just allows you to have like a nice curve that follows the eye exactly. And basically, I'm just kind of masking things off so that, nothing gets ruined. Then I basically move these guys around. And basically, the way you move them, you just, select them and press G, like, just like anything else, right? Just, move them. And then once you're happy with it, you just press enter a bunch of times. As you can see here, I'm just spamming it. And it's going to pinch it nicely. And then you can basically change it back from curve, back to, space, which is like the default, thing. And after I pinch it, I get rid of all the masks and just kind of smooth it out very lightly. I'm just, slightly smoothing. I don't want to, like, lose all the details, right? And there's a couple of places where I kind of missed. Like, for example, in the corners. I didn't really pinch it there with the curve. I just, I do it manually here. And that's how you basically create, like, these, like, nice curvy or creased, whatchamacallit, eyelids. I think right now we're going to focus on the upper eye bags or the the bags that you have above your eyes, right? So I'm going to create another face set from the mask that I just created in case I need it in the future. Smooth out the mask a little bit, and then just with the inflate brush, we're going to start slowly and carefully inflating the upper kind of like eye bag area. And this is probably the trickiest part of making the eyes. I kind of make it seem easy right here, but I have always struggled with this area. Because sometimes you can just inflate a little bit too much, and then it kind of looks bumpy. It looks very like, like a spongy and bumpy. It just looks really bad. So just, be careful when you're inflating, Do it nice and gradually, use the smooth brush to kind of smooth it out. Make it nice and smooth. And, yeah. Okay, I'm just kind of cleaning up a couple of things here and there, and then I think in a couple of moments we're going to be switching to the ears. Now, obviously, if you look at the reference, you will notice that I decided to make this like an elf character with elf ears. And the reason why I specifically chose elf ears is because I've noticed that a lot of people, especially beginners, have issues making regular ears, because they're kind of complex, right? They have a lot of detail in like a small area, right? And a lot of issues just have issues making them. So I decided, you know what, because I kind of want this tutorial to be for kind of beginners and stuff like that, right? I decided, you know what, let's make elf ears, because elf ears are actually much easier to make than regular ears, because you don't have to follow any rules. Like when it comes to regular, humans, we have our, human ears, but there's rules that you have to, make, right? You can't just make, random ear, whatchamacallit, shapes and stuff like that. But when it comes to elf ears, well, they're, they don't really exist, right? They're like, fantasy creatures, so you can pretty much just, make whatever you want to do. You can do whatever ears, and I feel that's like a nice introduction for people who want to make ears, who want to make characters, right? It's like a nice introduction to to ears, because it allows you to just, be creative and find a bunch of like random references you can just use, and not have to worry about it. Oh, is this correct? Is this accurate? No, you just make whatever you want to make. So that's why I chose like an elf character, to kind of make it a little bit easier for beginners. For the workflow here, I'm going to be using the good old standard, going from low poly and then just gradually increasing the resolution. I didn't really do that for the head, but I will be doing it for the ears. So once again, I want to kind of clean it up a little bit. So we're going to use quadrant mesher. Subdivide it a couple times. Shrink wrap it to the original to transfer all the details. And at this point, just kind of smooth it out a little bit. So I just added a quick mirror, and then at this point I'm going to apply the mirror modifier, and I'm going to click on the head and grab a Boolean modifier with union, and then select the ears and then apply the modifier. This is going to connect, or this is going to fuse, I guess, the ears with the head, and then you'll be able to sculpt them together, you know, and connect them and stuff like that, right? And the reason why I did it with a Boolean modifier is because it allows you to create like a very clean connection without losing any detail. And I was using the fill brush there to just kind of make the connection, you know, more smooth. Very useful brush. At this point, you know, after you smooth everything out and you're done, you can probably just, you know, retopologize it and stuff. But yeah, we're pretty much near the end of the video, guys. I'm gonna take this time to, you know, plug my, you know, socials and stuff like that. Well, it's mostly just my Twitch streams that I do pretty much, you know, almost every day. So if you want to, you know, ask questions, or, you know, if you want to see like how I make stuff in Blender, then feel free to join. Another thing I also have is a Discord server where I post basically pretty much my full portfolio. It's all there, you know, all the characters I've made, the animations, the renders. It's all there in one place. Once again, the links below the video. And yeah, I mean, pretty much at this point, I'm just, you know, rotating the ears a little bit back, smoothing them out, making sure that, you know, they're consistent with everything. As you can see here in the reference, the ears are a little bit thicker. I kind of decided to make these ones a little bit thinner because, you know, why not? It's kind of boring to make the same thing, you know, twice. Because actually, this is my second time making this head. The head in the reference is actually my first time. which just kind of was like my practice, you know, session, I guess, practicing the head. And then I decided, you know what, let's do it again and record it. But yeah, at this point, I think I just want to add a little bit of teeth, which is basically like a simple cylinder, just to kind of like, you know, make it so that, you know, her mouth is not, you know, empty. And yeah, that's pretty much it, my dudes. I'll see you guys in the next video. Take care. Good luck. Bye-bye.